Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. About a few weeks back, must be over a month now, maybe 2 months, I actually did a video on 6 classic albums that I thought were overrated. So what I thought I'd do is I would flip the coin a little and do 6 albums which are normally put at the bottom of people's or bands' artist discographies that I think are actually much better than a lot of people think. So 6 different artists, and they're all well established bands or singers or whatever. And anyway, we'll start. First of all, this one here, which I think is criminally underrated, and that's the Electric Light Orchestra's Balance of Power from 1986. I don't understand why people don't actually like this. I think it's chock-a-block full of really strong songs. There was 3 singles off this: Calling America, great song; So Serious, which is a very typical Jeff Lynne catchy number, and then the typical Lynne ballad, Getting to the Point. Those are all great, but you also have fantastic songs like Heaven Only Knows, which is a little bit of a nod back to the Discovery Disco age. Without Someone is one of his best ever ballads. The only song here that I wouldn't be too keen on is Sorrow About to Fall. Now what I did notice is some of this album is made up from tracks that were originally going to be put on the Secret Messages album, which itself as a single album I thought was very poor. As a double album it works much better, but this here I think is very, very strong. I don't see there anything wrong with this at all. It's got the 80s production, but the thing about 80s production, I'm changing my mind about 80s production, because I used to think, oh, I wish this album was reissued or redone with a more up-to-date production to see what it would be like. I've changed my mind ever since David Bowie's Never Let Me Down was done, which I was looking forward to, and I ended up slightly disappointed. I enjoyed it, but I still think the identity of the album was tarnished, and that's why when it comes to 80s production, you can't change history. 80s production, okay, you may not like it, but it's still part of the history, and I don't think you should be messing about with it. So anyway, this is one of them. I think this is a very, very strong album, and it should never be at the bottom of the yellow mid-table. Next up, this one here, The Who, 1981, Face Dances. I'm not saying this is a classic album by any means, but this is much better than a lot of people think. This is another one that I would put mid-table for The Who. The thing is, it starts off with 3 really strong songs. You Better You Bet, which I think is their best single since, I was going to say Since You Won't Get Fooled Again, but maybe Join Together. Don't Let Go the Coat is a really catchy single, and the 3rd song, Cash Cash, is very strong as well. You do get a couple of clunkers. The Quiet One by John Entwistle, and his other one, which is called You, are a little bit, especially You, are a bit sort of not too keen. And Did You Steal My Money? It's got, you know, rather weak lyrics, but it's got a really good groove to it. The song How Can You Do It Again How Can You Do It Alone, sorry, just reminds me of that Plinky Plunky Madness type piano, and it's actually quite good. But the song that follows it, Daily Records, I think it's brilliant. Really, really, really strong. And it finishes with Another Tricky Day, which is your typical Who song. But yeah, I enjoy this. Their next album, It's Hard, which also features at the bottom of most people's lists, I totally agree with. It's absolutely dire, but this is really strong, and it's my favourite album of theirs since Who's Next. Yes, I know, Quadrophenia, but I made my point about Quadrophenia. So that's Face Dances by The Who, much better than a lot of people let out to be. Okay, 3rd one, Love Him or Hate Him, but this one, even amongst his fans, is regarded as one of his worst. This is Morrissey's Kill Uncle. This is in my top 3 of his solo albums. Behind number 1 would probably be Vauxhall and I, with number 2 Your Arsenal. This is a very short album, which I think makes it even better, to be honest with you. It's a very short listen. It's one I come back to the most, and it's a very mellow album, I think, as well, which people prefer Morrissey to be a little bit heavier in the guitars. Our Frank is a fine single to start with, but the second single, Sing Your Life, is one of his best ever singles. King Lear is a little catchy piano based number, and Driving Your Girlfriend Home has just got a beautiful melody with lovely female backing vocals. Yeah, Morrissey does have the lyrics that will divide a lot of people, but I look at Morrissey lyrics as tongue-in-cheek, and I think there's a lot of wit and humour in his lyrics, which people don't grasp, and then they tend to get offended. But I know he's been outspoken of late, and he's been a bit of a tit of late as well. But this album, Kill Uncle, I think from 1990, or is it 91? I think it's 1990. It's his second proper studio album. I think it's great. Very strong album. I love it. Finally, the song Found, 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 which starts off side 2, is very, very basic, but it works because it's only 2 minutes long. So, Kill Uncle, wonderful album. Okay, from 1986, and this is Paul McCartney's Press to Play, and this gets slated all the time. I don't understand it. I think this is great. Again, this has got the 80s sound to it, and as I said before, it's part of the history of music, and I don't want this to be remixed or redone in any way. I like it the way it is. Press is a wonderful single. Pretty Little Head is probably his most brave and adventurous single, and I think it would have been a hit if it had been sent to radio stations without the name Paul McCartney on it. It's almost something like Mike Oldfield would have done in the late 90s, early 2000s. Stranglehold is a very good opener. Footprints, oh man, that's a wonderful, wonderful song. To me, it should have been a single. It's got a bit of like Spanish guitar type to it. It sounds a little bit in the same sort of style as Madonna's La Isla Bonita. Good Times Coming and Feel the Sun is very, very good. One of those sort of two stuck together songs with a bit of a hint of reggae. However Absurd is a wonderful closer. Angry reminds me a little bit like Spin It On. Have we got Only Love Remains is a fine McCartney ballad, but the two songs that cause the disdain amongst the fans are Talk More Talk and Move Over Busker. Now, Move Over Busker is a very, very standard song. It's not bad, play it loud, it's okay, it's not brilliant. But Talk More Talk I used to hate. I thought dreadful. I think it's the actual Talk More Talk bit. Chat more chat. Right, okay, fair enough, Paul. But if you listen to the music, it's actually quite good. It's just that Talk More Talk bit that, you know, just does not work for me. But yeah, Press to Play I think is a very strong album. I think it's better than Flowers in the Dirt. I also think it's better than Off the Ground, which I actually do quite like. And the controversial one is I think it's better than Flaming Pie. But there you go. Flaming Pie is too long and it's a little bit boring, as is Flowers in the Dirt. It's boring, it's not too long. I think this has got more character than those three albums, and I really enjoy it, and I love that cover as well. I really do. The cover doesn't reflect the music inside, and I think that's also very good as well that it doesn't. So yeah, that's Press to Play. Love it. Okay, two more. And if you're a Kinks fan, this one will probably fall near the bottom of the pile for most people, and that's the Kinks Preservation Act 2 from 1974. It's a double album. It's another concept album. All his RCA albums are concept albums, but all his RCA albums I think are really good. Now, when I first heard this on CD, I played it and I thought this was the biggest pile of crap I've ever heard. I thought, right, God, no wonder you're going to be dropped by RCA. This is terrible. But then I played it one time whenever I was working away on the computer. It was on the background, and I played it twice in a row, and it must have really sunk into my subconscious, because whenever I actually sat down to listen to this properly again, I fell in love with this album. There's nothing on here that you would, if you were making up a mixed CD or a mixed playlist of the best of the Kinks, the Have, the Drive in the Car, there's nothing from this you would put on. I mean, nothing. But as a whole, this album really, really works. There are standout tracks, of course, like Mirror of Love, which has got a bit of a Mungo Jerry feel to it. Oh Where Is Love, with the female backing, and actually it's almost like a duet with the female. I don't know her name, sorry, some girl anyway. Nothing Lasts Forever, Shepherds of the Nation. They're all good songs, but they all, as I say, it is a concept, and it does sound a bit stage showy. You know, because some of the songs a lot of the songs aren't that catchy, but they do sink in. Again, you have to listen to this as a whole, and that's why it's probably even better on CD than it is on vinyl, flicking it over 4 times or 3 times. But yeah, I absolutely love this album. This is in my top. This was scrape into the top 10 of all the Kinks albums. In general, I do love the RCA albums much better than what happened after with Arista and London Records. Even though there's some great songs like Come Dancing, Don't Forget to Dance, Low Budget, and so forth, those albums, the stadium rock albums as we would call them, are this is better. I think he's very inventive in these, and there's horns and there's all different styles of music, and it just shows what a class act Ray Davies actually is, and that's Preservation Act 2. And lastly, this one here, this was never actually released on CD until it was part of a box set. It was the record company taking advantage of one of their long-standing artists leaving them, and I think they probably did this to backfire on the artist, because it is generally regarded as the biggest pile of rubbish. It's culled from sessions from 2 of his previous albums, outtakes, and it's all either cover versions or traditional songs. But I think this is a really good listen, and that is Dylan, from Bob Dylan, 1973. The songs themselves are taken from Self-Portrait and New Morning. I would listen to this long before I would listen to New Morning or Self-Portrait. I think this is really, really good. Lily of the West, traditional song, is brilliant. He does a very nice version of the Elvis made song, Can't Help Falling in Love. Sarah Jane has got backing vocals on it, which are very, very loud female backing vocals, but it really does work. It's unique. The Ballad of Ira Hayes I know from Johnny Cash, but Dylan actually more or less talks his way through the song, which is great. He does a really good version of Big Yellow Taxi, and A Fool Such As I, which is maybe a wee bit dodgy, but still it's not bad. Mr. Bojangles is very good. I love this album, I really do. This is, again, would be in my top half of my Bob Dylan albums. Nobody likes this, don't understand why, think it's great and deserves more credit. It actually deserves a CD release on its own. So that's Dylan, which was released on CBS while he had moved to do Planet Waves on Island or Asylum, whichever country you're living in. Then he went back to Columbia stroke CBS. So yeah, Dylan from 1973. I think it's a very strong album and is vastly overlooked. Okay, so those are 6 albums which I think deserve a little bit more credit than what they actually get. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to do another video quite soon. Okay, over now. Bye bye.